salute our
the United States of America,
and to the
to the
republic
republic
for which it stands,
stands
one
one
nation,
nation, under God,
God.
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Pursuant to Section 5, Chapter 231 of the Public Laws of New Jersey, this is to state for the record that adequate notice of this meeting has been provided to the public by posting and maintaining the annual notice of regular meetings on the bulletin board of the municipal building, by mailing the annual notice of regular meetings for 2022 to the News Record and Star Ledger in December 2021, and by filing said notice in the office of the Township Clerk.
Ms. Adams,
Here.
Ms. Cripe,
Here.
Mr. DeLuca,
Here.
Mr. McGeehee, Mayor Daffis.
Here.
Whereas Chapter 231, Public Laws of 1975, commonly known as the Open Public Meetings Act, requires all meetings of public bodies be open to the public. And whereas Section 7A provides that the governing body has the discretion to permit, prohibit, or regulate the active participation of the public at any meeting, whereas the desire of the governing body to comply with the provisions of this act, same time to conduct its business in an orderly and expeditious manner, now therefore be resolved by Township Committee of the Township of Maplewood that it does hereby prohibit, except as set forth in the formal agenda, active participation in the deliberations of the governing body by the public, and except as otherwise prescribed by law, does limit the public to the observation of the actions and discussions of the governing body at all its regular and special meetings.
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Adams,
Yes.
Ms. Cripe,
Yes.
Mr. DeLuca,
Yes.
Mayor Daffis.
Yes. Thank you, Ms. Fritzen. Welcome, friends and family, to our June 8th Township Committee meeting. As you can see, we are still meeting virtually online and intend to continue doing so for the foreseeable future. Thank you for joining us this evening. We have a pretty light agenda, I think. We're going to start off with a couple of important proclamations. The National Gun Violence Awareness Day, which actually was a proclamation that we put into effect on Friday, this past Friday, which was actual National Gun Violence Awareness Day. We're going to proclaim June as Pride Month. Happy Pride, as we do every year. And then we're going to have an appointment to the Historic Preservation Commission. Committee member Cripe will lead us in having Carla LaBianca appointed to the Historic Preservation Commission. That will lead us into our first public comment period for agenda items only, 3 minutes per person. We will provide the courtesy for the first speaker to be our county liaison, Ms. Richardson, who I see here with us. Thank you and welcome, Ms. Richardson. And then we will go into our Board of Health meeting. After that, we have one ordinance of introduction. We have no other ordinances for introduction, no ordinances on final. We'll go into administrative reports from elected officials, and then we have 3 discussion items. The consent agenda, previously published, does include some important items. It includes our urging the swift passage of legislation that would restore the energy tax receipts. We've covered that before in discussion. That's money on the table that we've not had access to as municipalities for many, many years, and we're really excited to get that coming back to us. Opposing Senate Bill 2103, which seeks to authorize conversion of certain office parks and retail centers to mixed use automatically by the state. Obviously, that's an unprecedented attack on municipal control and municipal self-governance, on municipal spot zoning and redevelopment, which all municipalities have the power to do and always have. We are also going to award a contract for additional traffic engineering services for traffic safety. And we are going to award a contract for the, the surveying and design services for Jacobi Street and 44th Street Roadway Improvements Project. That's been a project we've talked about and studied for a really long time. We're really happy to see it moving forward. The same for Lexington Avenue roadway improvements, and awarding a contract to sand slit drainage at Behart Park. We're finding that the sand slit drainage is working in reducing the flooding at Dehart. Obviously, we have a lot more work to fix Dehart Park, but we're heartened by some of the improvements that we're seeing already. Then we will approve our closed session minutes from the May 17th meeting, and then we'll go into the second public comment period. Again, 3 minutes per person on any topic. Doesn't have to be on the agenda, and then we will adjourn. So with that, let's begin with National Gun Violence Awareness Day. As I mentioned, Friday was Wear Orange. It's a national observance and National Gun Violence Awareness Day. It's an opportunity to raise awareness and take action against gun violence in our nation. Our nation has been plagued severely by gun violence recently, and even since the well-publicized awful events in Texas at the school, at the supermarket in Buffalo before that. Since then, there have been several other mass shootings. On Friday, on Wear Orange Day, I did issue a proclamation declaring Friday, June 1st in the Township of Maplewood, National Gun Violence Awareness Day, and asking all of our citizens to take action, to get involved, to write their legislators for gun safety legislation, to vote, take this to the ballot box where it really, really does have an effect, and also to join local mom demand action protests and rallies to raise awareness and to learn more about how all of us can fight back against gun violence in our nation and take guns off of our streets. Deputy Mayor DeLuca and I and committee member Adams attended a really well done, well organized, very moving and powerful Moms Demands Action protest and rally and summit on Friday night. And, it was really, really, it felt good to do something. It really did. And to be raising awareness and to taking some action against this. We all have the feeling to do something. It's not just about words. I also issued a statement on Friday. It didn't really make a lot of news because of everything that's been going on. I asked Township administration to publicize the statement through our Township email blasts. With everything going on, I don't think that ended up happening. The statement was and remains on our Township website. But I wanted to read some of it into the record because I do think it's really important that our residents know that their elected officials here at the local level are doing whatever we can do, whatever we have control over on this very, very important issue. We're not just issuing proclamations and going to protests. So what I said was that, as we continue to mourn the victims of recent gun violence across our nation, on Wear Orange Day, we pledged our continued local commitment to enhance public safety, calling our state and federal representatives to action for gun safety legislation, expanding vulnerable community mutual aid here in the Township, breaking barriers in our services, and speaking out against white supremacy, racism, bias, and hate. We must, we can, we will do more. At the local level, this means working with our county and sister communities in a robust gun buyback program, and I'll tell you more about my recent actions in that regard during my report later in the agenda, to get more guns off of our suburban and urban streets, ensuring that we're sufficiently trained and prepared to respond to mass casualty events. I'll tell you more about that too during my report. Collaborating with our school district colleagues towards sensible gun sense safety protocols that protect our students while sheltering them from further physical, emotional, psychological harm or stress, and expanding recent advancements we have made in the Township in crisis intervention into prevention and diversion. We will continue to stand in solidarity with and support local actions, as I mentioned, against gun violence and calls for sensible gun safety legislation. And this is a discussion item tonight, we will examine our own systems and structures to divorce them from implicit bias, unintended discrimination, and other barriers to opportunity, equity, health, and wellness. Our mourning has fueled our action and activism. It has increased our capacity to do more, to care more, to protect all. The voices of the fallen speak truth to power through us as we rise together. I was joined in my statement in solidarity by our police chief, Chief Duvall, and by our fire department leadership, Chief Alvarez and Deputy Chief DiMartini. The police department said it is committed to the safety of our residents and school communities. Gun violence affects us all. Without bold legislative changes, gun violence will not end, and we will all resist and dismiss thoughts that this will not happen here. Hope or prayer is not a plan for success. Amen to that. The Maplewood Police Department is already working with other local, county, and federal agencies to enhance our training and readiness. We will not stand down or wait outside when the lives of our residents, including our students, are at stake. The department continues to collaborate with the school district to improve school safety. It is imperative that we do this work now, stay engaged, and collaborate. We all need to work together to find solutions that can protect us now. Maplewood Fire Chief Alvarez and Deputy Chief DiMartini said the Maplewood Fire Department will always be committed to providing the best fire and emergency medical services to the residents and visitors of our town. As gun violence has come to the forefront of our society, we will continue to work with our first responder partners and other agencies on the local, state, and federal level to ensure that all individuals that reside and visit the Township of Maplewood will receive the best emergency services possible in any given event. Working with our partners on all levels of government allows the Maplewood Fire Department to obtain the best training and equipment available to help mitigate these tragic events and save lives. I ended the statement, we ended the statement by asking all of us to wear orange on Friday and to continue this level of activism on this issue all year round. We reported that a record 110 Americans are killed with guns daily, 110 Americans every day. And we raised our fists and we raised our voices and we asked people to think about the Black food shoppers in a Buffalo supermarket who were gunned down by a white supremacist as they were gathering items for supper, or the parishioners in a Black church shot to death as they gathered to pray and rejoice in love and peace, and for the 3rd and 4th graders murdered in an elementary school while clutching to their backpacks and lesson plans. Not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it is faced. Of course, those are the famous words of James Baldwin. So thank you for indulging me in that and reading that into the record. And I hope that all of our residents in the Township of Maplewood will band together on this very, very important issue. So from that, we're going to move over to Pride. Pride is Awareness Month. June is Pride Month. Happy Pride, everyone. Township Administrator Jimes, do we have Shannon Cuddle with us? I don't see Shannon Cuddle with us.
I don't see her either.
Okay, that's all right. We're going to move forward. So, I just wanted to say that Pride this year in our country is a little less celebratory. I know there's a lot of fun stuff that we're going to do all month, and we should celebrate. We are proud, especially in the Township of Maplewood. But in light of what's happening around the nation, including gun violence, and remember that our Black and brown LGBTQ youth are one of the major victims in gun violence in our nation. So the two correlate here. There's a real intersectionality. We have to remember that the LGBTQ community is under attack. There is so much legislation across the country trying to erase identities and to roll us back in our rights, hard-earned rights. And our trans youth in particular are the victims of these attacks. They're trying to eliminate their access to healthcare. They're trying to eliminate their access to restrooms. They're trying to eliminate the LGBTQ inclusive curriculum, and they're going after LGBTQ youth parents. They're going after our parents. So, and you know what? It's happening right here too. We're not immune from it. It may not be so obvious, but we are seeing that parents show up at school board meetings and they say things like parents should have the choice as to whether or not their kids learn about LGBTQ persons and contributions in history, or whether they should learn about sexual orientation and gender identity and expression in school. That is disguised hate and bias. And we have to stand up and rise up against it. We have to call it out. But even beyond that, every day there are microaggressions, my friends, that we all experience. And I can tell you as a gay mayor, with my increased visibility, I thought I arrived, but I gotta tell you, the microaggressions continue. I see the disrespect that I get when compared to other mayors who have sat in this chair, and the microaggressions continue. So if we all care about this, if we recognize that if it happens against someone else, it's gonna happen against me or you, that we're in this together, then we really truly have to do something about it. So I'm not going to read our Pride Proclamation. We're declaring June as Pride Month, and we're inviting all citizens to do what they can to raise awareness, to provide space. Sometimes that's all it is providing space, equal access and space for persons to feel safe and to feel affirmed, and to do all that we can as elected representatives here as the legislative body, to do all we can to send the message that we will not stand for discrimination, hate, or bias of any kind in the Township of Maplewood. And I will go more into that during the discussion item later. So thank you. Thank you again. We covered both proclamations, and this will lead us into our board and committees appointments. So we do have an appointment, as I mentioned earlier. We have resident Carla LaBianca, who will be appointed onto the Historic Preservation Commission, and I invite committee member Kripe for that.
That would be me, Mayor. I'm the lead.
I'm so sorry I made that error.
Okay.
I said it twice.
We were just gonna bypass your direction and move on anyway. So
Okay. Apologies.
No worries. Yes, I'd like Ms. Barnett, could you move Ms. LaBianca over? So we've had a longstanding vacancy on historic preservation. Ms. LaBianca has been trying for a few months. We've been working out some kinks in our volunteer forms online, but she's very anxious to, there she is, join us on the historic preservation. So Ms. LaBianca, I invite you to tell the Township Committee a little about yourself and why you want to serve on the Historic Preservation Commission. Unmute yourself.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for inviting me here tonight. Please excuse me, I have a bit of a cold, slight cough, but I'll try to get through this. Someone once told me that I love houses. I love antique houses like people love dogs. And I think it's true. I have a fondness for old things and for preservation, for restoration. And I think that speaks through the work that I've done here in our community. So first and foremost, I am the co-founder of the Resource Home Show, which seeks to bring homeowners and home preservationists, contractors, and all of the unsexy people you would have to bring into your home to keep it up together. It's a trade show that's held yearly at the Woodland. I'm also the administrator of Soma at Home, which I'm very proud of. We have well over 3,000 very active and chatty participants from up and down the Northeast, in fact, all old homeowners or all old home lovers. all people who want to invest in their properties and are really seeking the opinion of this group, and it's really wonderful. And most recently, I started the Soma at Home salvage market. So, one of the things that I really want to bring to the forefront is when people are restoring their old homes, that's fine, they do what they want, but let's use some of those materials that they're taking out of their homes and put them into somebody else's home. So I really am into this idea of recycling and upcycling all of the beautiful components that we have in our houses. And finally, I'm a realtor at Compass Realty in Short Hills. That goes without saying, I'm in a lot of homes, and I take it very seriously, my job to educate homeowners. So with that, that's in a nutshell what I've been doing here in Maplewood.
Well, thank you. And thank you for volunteering. It looks like you and I have the same color palette in our living rooms.
Oh, fantastic. I love color.
I know, me too. Yeah. Anyway, well, we can talk at our HPC meetings.
I look forward to it, Nancy. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to appoint Carla LaBianca to our Historic Preservation Commission.
I enthusiastically second the motion. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Oh, we get to vote on you. You're
Yes,
not-
to take a vote. Adams,
Yes.
Sprite,
Yes, and welcome to the committee.
Mr. DeLuca,
Yes.
Mayor Daffis.
Yes. Congratulations and welcome.
So now I get to say thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. See you soon.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you for volunteering. You're welcome to stay with us this evening, and you're welcome to go back to your evening.
To take some cold medicine.
There you go.
There you
Feel better.
We hope you feel better. Feel better.
Thank you.
All right, this takes us into our public comment, our first public comment for agenda items only, 3 minutes per person. Mr. Waltz, would you kindly allow our county liaison the first opportunity to speak? Valentina Richardson Green is with us, and we welcome her to provide any announcements or updates.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me. In terms of county updates, the only thing I have right now is that the Essex County Summer Concert Series has begun for the month of June and will be going through the month of September. I'll have additional literature to drop off at City Hall next week, so I'll be making sure to get that over to you. In terms of any residents that have applied for benefits, I just included in the chat email address if anybody had any inquiries in terms of applying for SNAP benefits or cash benefits or benefits that they're currently receiving. With the pandemic, the federal government has still allowed for several waivers. One of those waivers include not having to do an actual interview, whether that be face-to-face or by telephone. We'd be able to process your application just based on the application. So if you could share that information, that might encourage additional people to apply for the SNAP program. That's the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. And that's it for me. I did put the email address for any inquiries in the chat for anyone who wants to share that.
Thank you, County Liaison Richardson Green. We appreciate the information. Are there any concerns anyone wants to raise for County Liaison Green? Any questions? All right. If you would stick around for a little bit while we go through our public comment, there might be people, members of the public who might have a question for you. So Nick, would you take over?
Sure thing, Mayor. Good evening. We will now begin the first public comment portion of the meeting on agenda items only. If any meeting attendee would like to address the Township Committee, please use the raise your hand function and we will convert you to a panelist and allow you 3 minutes to speak. Would anybody like to address the Township Committee at this time? I see no one, Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Waltz. So from there, we're going to move over to our Board of Health meeting, and I believe we have our Health Officer Davenport with us. Welcome. I will read the opening statement. pursuant to Section 5, Chapter 231 of the Public Laws of New Jersey. This is to state for the record that adequate notice of this meeting has been provided to the public by posting and maintaining the annual notice of regular meetings on the bulletin board of the municipal building, by mailing the annual notice of regular meetings for 2022 to the News Record and Star Ledger in December 2021, and by filing said notice in the office of the Township Clerk.
Ms. Adams,
Here.
Ms. Croy,
Here.
Mayor Daffis,
Here.
Mr. DeLuca,
Here.
Mr. McGehee. Okay, I'll note that Mr. McGehee is absent from this Board of Health meeting. Whereas
Yeah.
Chapter 231 Public Laws of 1975, commonly known as the Open Public Meetings Act, requires that all meetings of public bodies be open to the public. And whereas Section 7 provides that the Board of Health has the discretion to permit, prohibit, or regulate the active participation of the public at any meeting. And whereas the desire of the Maplewood Board of Health to comply with the provisions at the same time to conduct its business in an orderly and expeditious manner, now therefore be resolved by the Board of Health, Township of Maplewood does hereby prohibit, except as set forth in the formal agenda, active participation in the deliberations of the Board of Health by the public, and except as otherwise prescribed by law, does limit the public to the observation of the actions and discussions of the Board of Health at all of its regular and special meetings.
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Adams,
Yes.
Ms. Croy,
Yes.
Mayor Daffis,
Yes.
Mr. DeLuca.
Yes.
Thank you.
I move the approval of the minutes from the May 3rd meeting.
Second.
Ms. Adams,
Yes.
Ms. Croy,
Yes.
Mayor Daffis,
Yes.
Mr. DeLuca.
Yes.
Thank you, Ms. Fritzen. Health Officer Davenport, it's your show, your Zoom.
Thank you, everyone. Good evening. Let me share my screen here. Oopsies. Oh my goodness, what happened here? So as of June 3rd, my colleague John Festa, who after 30 years of being a health officer and servicing in public service in numerous towns throughout New Jersey, retired. So Maplewood Health Department, for the time being, for the next 6 months, will be the interim health department for South Orange. Just want to let everyone know that that's big news for us, and happy to help our neighboring town. COVID update. We are still in high across the state in all regions for COVID. I just want to highlight also that you'll notice that our COVID variants, the Omicron variant, there are two types, but you can see how there's new types that are coming on fast and furious over the last few weeks, as you can tell. This contributes to the number of cases. Omicron, as you know, is very transmissible through the community, and so we are definitely seeing that. COVID stats for Maplewood is that in May we had 577 cases for a total of 5,985 cases since the beginning, and I'd like to report on 46 deaths. I want to make a clarification on this 46. As you remember, in our last meeting, there seemed to be a discrepancy with the county data as versus the data that we found at the local level. So I'll read you the information that the state provided to us. On May 2nd, the New Jersey Department of Health Communicable Disease Reporting System conducted a data cleanup that involved cross-referencing COVID-19 death data reports. The data cleanup resulted in an address change for a COVID-19 case that expired in October 2021. That was cited for a neighboring town, but then was identified to have had residents actually in Maplewood. And that was updated on May 2nd. So we are going to count that as our death and as 46. The county said that the state also reported that we had 47 deaths, but upon investigation, it was identified that while the person died in the hospital, they did not die due to COVID. They were just tested for COVID at the hospital and came out positive, but the reason for their entry into the hospital and their cause of death as defined by the medical examiner and reported as such was not due to COVID. So we are keeping it at 46 and the state is aware. I also want you to know that we are overseeing outbreaks that are closing through our schools. We are closing the monitoring probably within the week. We had to keep them open and monitor for 2 incubation periods, but we have had no cases since then, so we are happily going to be closing those. Most of those cases or outbreaks are due to trips or shows, large events and gatherings. So, you know, the school district has taken precautions and we are moving forward to hopefully a nice break as the kids are looking forward to ending school in June. Here is I'm going to move this over a little bit. This is the 7-day average, which is the orange. The blue line is the daily, but you can see that the green trend line is less steep than it was before. So this is a good thing. We're slowly evening out and hopefully COVID has gone through our community and will dissipate shortly. That being said, there are cases of long COVID, and in fact, the Essex Regional Health Commission, our colleagues there, are hosting a long COVID virtual symposium on Wednesday, June 22nd, as we learn more about long COVID and the ramifications of that. So if anyone is interested, please join us on that. FYI, as you know, the county is still open at the Sears building, but only with limited hours on Thursdays and Fridays from 2 to 7 for testing and vaccination, as well as on Saturdays from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. They are also in their mobile capacity on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays at various locations throughout the county from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m., both again offering vaccinations and testing. Please note that Essex County is also now offering the Pfizer pediatric COVID booster for ages 5 to 11 years of age. And you can go to the essexcountynj.org/health website to schedule an appointment, although an appointment is not necessary. They've said you can walk in. On bigger news, as per the county health officer this morning in our afternoon call, they said that they are planning on vaccinating 6 months to 4 years old when that pending review and approval has been in place. So they are, as you know, Moderna and Pfizer are in FDA review for their pediatric, the 6 month to 4 year old doses. And once those are up, the county will gear up to provide pediatric doses for the 6 month to 4 year old age group. And so we are eagerly awaiting that, and that's great news. So thank you to the county for offering that service once again and helping the municipalities out and keeping our little ones healthy. Some of you may have already heard about what's called COVID rebound. As you know, Paxlovid is a treatment that has come on market and is an oral antiviral drug used for early stage treatment of mild to moderate COVID-19 among persons who are at high risk for progression to severe disease. So Paxlovid is prescribed to patients who may have underlying health conditions, and in order to prevent them from getting sicker, the doctor would prescribe Paxlovid. Paxlovid treatment helps prevent hospitalization and death due to COVID-19, again, for those who are at high risk for progression to severe disease. Unfortunately, what we're also finding is that in some cases, COVID-19 rebound has been reported to occur 2 to 8 days after they've recovered and is characterized by a recurrence of COVID-like symptoms, which thankfully are mild, but they do occur, and or a new positive viral test after having tested negative. If this does occur, the CDC recommends for people to follow isolation precautions similar to what we did before when you were sick the first time, which is isolate for 5 days, test, and if you are negative, you can come out and your symptoms have resolved. You can come out of isolation and then wear the mask for days 6 to 10 afterward until the symptoms, until your isolation protocol is finished. On other news, let's move on to influenza. So I do want to update you also on the current influenza activity level. It's weird to be talking about influenza in June, but because of the current situation and mask wearing and everyone going back out into the community and doing normal things and socializing, influenza has kind of a lag time. And so we are seeing influenza. In fact, in prior weeks, we were in a high level for influenza, but now we are moving toward moderate and low. So this is a really good thing, but we are continually monitoring that from a communicable disease aspect as well. One of the things that I want to mention also is that some pharmaceutical companies are working on a COVID and flu vaccine for the fall. So I'll keep you posted on that, but that could be really interesting. Also in the news is monkeypox, another infectious disease that I want to bring to your attention. Monkeypox has been seen in over 200 cases worldwide. While it is not common in North America, cases have been seen in the past years in areas of Africa. However, they are seeing these cases, as you know, in the news in areas of Europe, North America, and Australia. Monkeypox is a viral disease. It's a rare disease, and it's viral, caused by an infection with monkeypox virus. Symptoms are mostly flu-like symptoms, swollen lymph nodes, and a rash that begins on the face and spreads to other parts of the body. We have shared this information with our local physicians so that they are aware of what to look for. But again, I want to emphasize that monkeypox is a rare disease. Information such as this fact sheet are found on the state health website, which is located there if you want more information. But I do want to provide an update that as of this afternoon, when we were on the county health officer call, there were 9 confirmed cases in the state of New York, 8 of those in New York City. So because monkeypox is associated with travel and or contact with infected animals, the travel factor is what concerns us as we look at New York City and the travel and international travel that can also occur in Newark as well. So the state health department is keeping a very close eye on this as well. Monkeypox, you might have seen in the news, the CDC recommended mask wearing for monkeypox. And when we were with our colleagues at Rutgers, they had mentioned that while the CDC recommends the masking, it is probably more for the droplet contagion that it potentially can have. It is not airborne like measles, so it is not that severe, but as a precaution, because they understand that it can be airborne, they did recommend that. But mostly monkeypox is from close physical contact with an infected person, not necessarily airborne or respiratory, but they do monitor for the droplet infection from an infected individual. One of the things that we'd like our residents to know is that if you receive a phone call at your home or cell phone from the state health department to do a survey, which is called the New Jersey Behavioral Risk Factor Surveillance Survey, it collects data on health-related behaviors, chronic conditions, and preventive services. Please do answer the phone. We hope that to collect as much information as possible so that we understand the health and behavior and needs and attitudes of New Jersey residents. This helps to create programming and grant funding for the state and local municipalities when we do our health assessments. So please answer the phone when they call. Again, it's called the New Jersey Behavioral Risk Factor Surveillance Survey. And they do this like every 2 or 3 years. Another thing in the news is baby formula shortage. So our colleagues at the United States Department of Health and Human Services have a website for families during this formula shortage. It gives great guidance on what to do if you still are facing a shortage, formulas that you can use as alternatives, including those you can purchase from out of country or imported. They also have a resource that you can call for discounts or coupons for purchasing baby formula. So it is an all-in-one encompassing resource for residents. So hope people are finding milk for their babies, but in case you need it, it's there. Happy Pride Month, as the mayor had mentioned. Just want to highlight that on our township website, we have an LGBTQIA community resources guide. Our focus is more on how to make sure that youth, as well as their parents and families, have access to healthcare. If they are LGBTQIA, there are some instances of bias or even in the healthcare profession, and it can be hard to find a healthcare provider. So we have links to assisting you with finding a provider directory to find the right healthcare provider for you. And we also have links to the coming out handbook, as well as the Trevor project, which I couldn't include here due to the size of the screen. So hope you guys will promote the website that we have there for this month if people need it. And our colleagues at the New Jersey Division of Disability Services have some new information for residents. So all of our residents who could use additional assistance and support as they deal with disabilities, both physical and cognitive. There are links here to the State Health Department, the State Division of Disability Services, and their abundant resources. So please take advantage of that. In terms of community health outreach, I want to give you the good news that as of starting July 16th in New Jersey, the Suicide Prevention Lifeline, or 988, will be available. This is a project that has been in the works, so we're happy to bring that to the state of New Jersey and hope that we can promote this service, kind of akin to 211 for all social services needs. This is the 988 Suicide Prevention Lifeline that could be very helpful. Happy Father's Day for all those fathers out there. Want to promote free cancer screening that's happening on Saturday, June 25th from 9 to 12. Thank you to our colleagues at the Rutgers Cancer Institute of New Jersey. This will be taking place at their location in Newark, but we hope that our fathers and dads and men in general out there will take advantage of this free cancer screening to keep us all healthy. Just to let you know, back on May 23rd, our Braven Health screening was another success. We had 7 people attend from 2 to 3:30, so that was great. And just to highlight that on June 27th, that Monday is our next one. So hopefully people will take advantage of this free health screening. Lastly, while it's not until July, I can't wait to tell you that our 4th year of our summer meals program is coming again. So it'll take place on July 11th to August 19th. It's 6 weeks at Maple Crest Park. Breakfast and lunch will be served. It's not a grab and go. The USDA has changed it back to a sit-in, but we have shared this information with our childcare centers and with the school district. And if you think of any other place that this can go to, I'm happy to share that as well. Please note that this is for children 18 and under, as well as 18 and over, who are in a private nonprofit school program for mentally or physically disabled. It's free for them as well. So I will stop sharing my screen and answer any questions at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Health Officer Davenport. As always, that was very comprehensive. And I really appreciate the Pride resources and the mental health resources for LGBTQ youth and their families. Are there any questions for my colleagues for Health Officer Davenport? Deputy Mayor DeLuca.
Thank you, Mayor. First, it's just amazing all the work you're doing. So congratulations. Thank you for doing that. Your first slide, I tried to stop you, but you kept going, so that was fine. And that was the agreement with South Orange to be the interim health officer. To be honest, I don't remember ever talking about it. And I don't know if I missed it or if it never came up. And I think something like this has to be approved by the governing body, because it is a shared service. And years ago, Mr. Rowe did a similar service as an individual, not the whole department, but as an individual with East Orange. And, we just have to, I think, and maybe I'm wrong and our attorney can tell us different, but I just think we have to have some kind of formalized agreement when we do these things, because we may be sending you or other members of our, who are our employees into that municipality. And if you get hurt, we have to just be covered. And also we need to understand just the ramifications of what that means and how that might impact the range of things you're already doing. So I think a discussion, it could be held at a future health meeting. It could be held at our Health and Rec subcommittee, however, but and then the second part of that, so we can deal with that one. But the second part of that is there was a study, a shared service study about merging Maplewood and South Orange's health department. And I think we ought to dust it off and take a look at it. And if you don't have it, I have a hard copy. But these are always opportunities when you have a transition with Mr. Fester leaving. This is an opportunity to rethink how we do things. So I would suggest we take a look at that and have a broader conversation beyond the 6 months. But certainly during the 6 months, we ought to have some kind of approval by the governing body.
Mr. DeLuca, you and I was going to bring it up. Certainly, this board has to approve any agreement to do anything with regard to South Orange. So it was a little premature to say that we were going to do that. In that regard, we have drafted a document that Ms. Davenport has seen and Mr. Jimes has and is sharing with the administrator in South Orange, and was waiting for comments back. When we get those comments back, we'll give it to you, hopefully at the next Board of Health meeting. But if we need to expedite it, we can do it at the next Township Committee meeting. It outlines specifically what Ms. Davenport's office is going to do, what their duties are going to be. It'll be, the fees will be in there, et cetera. So we will get that to you, and we agree that that's the process that has to be followed.
Yeah, I agree. I was going to say the same thing as Mr. DeLuca did. And I indicated similar thoughts to Ms. Davenport in an email recently about making sure we're counting hours and looking at costs and not underserving our community while we spread ourselves, and then what that looks like going forward. So yeah, I agree. This needs to be a discussion, and I would like it to be at our next TC meeting, just because I don't want her and her staff working in another township unprotected.
No, clearly she shouldn't go into the town without the agreement being in place. I agreed. I mean, there's indemnification clauses, there's insurance clauses, there's all the standard clauses that would offer protection to her and to her staff. And I agree 100%. They shouldn't be going in there until this agreement is signed. Mr. Jimes has sent it on to Mr. Lerner. He's had it probably for at least a week, right? Right, Mr. Jimes? So really, it's really on him. If he wants these services to be provided, he ought to get on the document and give us his comments.
So then we'll put it on for discussion at our June 21st meeting. Yeah. We don't want to wait until BOH.
Yeah, that's fine. And I have Ms. Davenport's comments, and we're just waiting back for his, and we'll get it done, and then we'll get it to you in advance so you can take a look at it.
Yeah, I mean, just one note that our nurse, Ms. Markarova, she is already on contract and has been on contract the entire time to provide services to South Orange as well as in Maplewood. So that's not certainly part of this agreement because she's already been doing that. But certainly we should have an agreement for Health Officer Davenport and the rest of her team, because a big part of this, while Health Officer Davenport has done a lot of the heavy lifting, no disrespect to Mr. Festa during COVID, everyone knows this. You know, there's a lot of other parts of this, like the environmental inspections, that are a very, very heavy lift to cover both Maplewood and South Orange. So all of those details should be ironed out as I have also by email privately shared with Ms. Davenport and Mr. Giles. Okay.
Yes, thank you for reviewing that and expediting that, as one of the things that we have to do by regulation as a local health department, as any local health department, is to maintain our inspections. And so as we hit into the summer, we have summer camps, we have pools. So we would have to assist them in making sure that they can open. So yes, thank you very much for reviewing that.
Any other questions?
I had a question in regards to, again, Officer Davenport, brilliant job. You do so much lifting. I don't even know how you get through the day without falling asleep. I had a question in regards to the summer meals program. As described, it really is more for children and those with special needs over the age of 18. In conversations with a few of the organizations in our community that support food insecurity, for the last 2 weeks, 2 of their drives have run out of supplies before the demand was met. And I wonder if there is anything that could possibly be done, or any work that we reach out to other organizations to meet the needs for the adults in the community, because I've been at a couple of these food giveaways, and a large percentage of the people who are present are seniors, are older adults, are adults, many of which don't have children in the car or any kind of paraphernalia that say they have children. These are adults that are in need, and I wonder if we're going to be able to meet those demands, not to mention the fact that with so many of our students getting out of school on the 24th, will the programs in place be adequate to make sure that they have what they need with the missing school lunches and breakfast programs at the schools since they're not taking summer classes?
Thank you so much. So Ms. Kripe, if we could talk offline to find out more. One of the things that I can think of is that we have a new senior social worker. It's one of the contracts that we have with South Orange. Her name is Michelle Federer. But she would be a great resource to link senior adults in particular with food resources. And then in terms of the other adults, let me see what other resources I can provide to them. But if you can give me more context tomorrow, that would be terrific.
Great, I'll reach out. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions from my colleagues? Okay, seeing none, we're going to open it up to the public. Do we have any members of the public who wish to address the Board of Health? Mr. Waltz?
I see no one, Mayor.
Okay. So we're going to move on then. I move that we adjourn and meet again on July 5th. Thank you, Health Officer Davenport.
Second.
Ms. Adams,
Yes.
Ms. Kripe,
Yes.
Mayor Daffis,
Yes,
Mr. DeLuca.
Yes.
Thank you.
thank you.
I almost accidentally clicked leave.
I've done that before, actually. So this brings us to our first ordinance and only ordinance on introduction this evening, ordinance number 3063-22. Ms. Ritson?
Yes, Mayor, it's item number 9, introduction of a new ordinance. An ordinance to amend Chapter 6 of the Code of the Township of Maplewood entitled Administration of Government, Article 9, Fire Department. This ordinance will raise the user fees for ambulance transportation services and emergency medical services provided by the Maplewood Fire Department.
Can I get a motion?
Mayor, I move the passage of this ordinance on first reading, its publication according to law in the Maplewood South Orange News Record, and a hearing to be held on June 21st, 2022.
Thank you. I second it.
Mayor, if I may just add, the interpretive statement probably should have included something to the effect that where these fees are collectible from third-party insurance companies, because that's where the increase in the fees will be collectible from, not from our residents, but from their insurance companies.
It also brings us in line where we were undercharging.
Yes.
Is there a defect then, or can we move forward?
No, it's fine.
It was just in the disclaimer
Right.
for the explanation.
Okay, great. Reports from departments, any reports from departments?
think-
Mayor, take a vote.
You did a roll call? Yeah, go ahead, sorry.
Did we ask the public? Or no, it was on introduction. Sorry. my bad.
Yeah,
Can I just be clear, who moved it and who seconded it?
Nick
I
moved
moved
it.
And Dean
Mayor
seconded.
seconded it.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Adams,
Yes.
Ms. Crate,
Yes.
Mr. DeLuca,
Yes,
Mayor Daffis.
yes, thank you, Ms. Fritzen. Do we have reports from departments? I don't see any department heads here. Okay, administrative reports, Mr. Gimes.
Thank you, Mayor. A couple of items tonight. As you know from previous Finance Committee meetings, discussions, and internal correspondence, our budget was delayed for several reasons. Personnel costs, more specifically related to fire department overtime in the beginning of the year, had a major impact on some of the previous decisions that had been made in recent budget hearings. However, in working aggressively with the insurance company and the joint insurance fund over the last several days, I was able to receive notification that we were going to get significant coverage for IDA-related damages to the tune of over $600,000. This essentially resolves our budget issue, allows us to use this money as revenue, and accounts for the excess cost from the operating budget as it relates to overtime. And therefore, after confirming with the CF Chief Financial Officer, allows us to pass a budget or introduce a budget on June 17th at the Township Committee meeting. It's worth noting that I believe the $600,000 is actually a conservative figure, because I'm still waiting on another approximate $500,000 in claims, which I fully anticipate obtaining a positive disposition on. So when that comes, I hope I can tell you that it's $1.1 million we can use in revenue, therefore solving any of the issues that occurred in the budget that caused this delay.
That's June 21st, right? Not June 17th.
Yeah, June 21st. And Mr. Gimes, before you move on to your other items in your report, would you kindly circulate a memo to the Township Committee later this evening or tomorrow about this, the money that you're anticipating, that you're confirming, and how that's going to, what is our introduction going to look like? What is going to be the tax effect? And all that good stuff, because it's been a really long time since we had our budget discussions and our analysis. It'd be good to have that information before we introduce on the 21st.
I will do that, yes.
Thank you.
We had discussions with the contractor that we retained to install the brick pavers in the village, and they're ongoing. Engineering has advised that based on his conversations with the utility companies, they can commence this project just after the July 4th holiday. We received notification that we were approved for a $488,000 grant to install solar-powered rapid flash and beacon pedestrian crossing signs across the walking routes to Seth Boyden, Jefferson, and Maplewood Middle School. I'll work with engineering to effectuate this project moving forward, and I'd like to thank engineering and the Department of Community Development for their work on that project. The road program, we received 4 bids on June 1st for the annual road program, and it was great news. Due to the prices we received, we will be able to move forward with not only the base bid, which includes South Pearson, North Terrace, Vermont, Fernwood, Berkshire, Burroughs Way, Baker Street, Oakland Terrace, and Oakland Road, but also alternates A, B, C, and D, which are respectively reconstruction of the median opposite the Wawa on Springfield Avenue, Bowden repaving a portion of that road, Crowell Place, and Arcularius Terrace. We were asked recently by an area nonprofit organization if we had the ability to hire a Ukrainian refugee. The answer was an emphatic yes. Anybody who is qualified and applies for a position with the township will be given that due consideration. There's some pretty simple guidance from the Justice Department on the rules we have to follow, but it's not complex at all. So we encourage them, the Director of Recreation, encourage them to let not just this one candidate, but any other candidate that might be qualified for a position to submit job applications to the Township of Maplewood. We went out to bid recently on the upgrade of the ramp at the Senior Center, and as a result of the bids coming in significantly higher than the engineer's estimate, we need to revamp those and rebid. We have recommended rejecting bids, and we plan to modify that bid as we discuss some of the issues with the director and try to reduce the cost. And in doing so, we're also going to speak with the Health Department about any potential grant funds that they may be aware of to offset any increases that come in higher than the initial estimate, but hopefully lower than the last set of bids. This morning, amongst many other issues, we talked about at the Environmental Public Works meeting. We discussed the timing of the front walkway project. We had been holding off based on the timing of any potential events. After considerable discussion, it was agreed that we should restart this project ASAP and adjust any potential events accordingly. So going forward, the temporary restorations will need to be pulled up and the proper mortars will need to be reapplied for permanent installation. Then we need to reset the stones and install the new plaque. From the start of construction and work, we anticipate about 5 to 6 weeks worth of work. And finally, regarding the Juneteenth celebration, in our budget discussions, the Township Committee had agreed to have a line item for fireworks at that celebration. The line item is still there. The money is accounted for. We're ready to move forward with that. However, if you're still inclined to approve, I would ask for a motion and a second so we can formalize a resolution, simply because that's required by the Division of Fire Safety for them to approve it. So we've been working with Mr. Conklin in Fire Safety. So we would just need a motion second, and then we would ask the attorney or the clerk's office to formalize that via resolution. With that, that will conclude my report, unless there's any questions.
Committee Member Adams, you have questions?
Yeah, with regard to those alternates that we're, happily going to be able to fund more than we planned with regard to the road program. You mentioned the median on Springfield Avenue by the Wawa. We're also applying for a grant for municipal aid, right, for redoing Springfield Avenue end to end next year. So might there be some consideration from engineering to possibly move that median project to coincide with Springfield Avenue repaving and maybe use that money elsewhere?
I think we can do that. The projects, there's a lot of them, so it's going to take a significant amount of time to do, and that one will require some extra planning and engineering. So I don't see that being an issue, and I'll talk to Director Kittner about that.
Well, hold on a second here. The grant goes from Milburn border to Jacobi Street, so it doesn't include the median.
Doesn't include the Wawa.
Yeah, that area is the last area that we paved last time and is not included in the grant application. Okay. And that median has to get repaired because it's falling apart, and we damage it with the plows. So there's a new design, and it won't be as susceptible to the plow damage with the design that is occurring.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions for Mr. Jimes? I move that we adopt a resolution in support of hiring the vendor to have fireworks at the Juneteenth celebration.
Seconded.
Roll call.
Yes.
Scrape,
Yes.
Mr. DeLuca,
Yes.
Mayor Daffis.
Yes. Assistant Administrator Barnett.
Yes, I just have a few quick things for y'all this week. The first one is regarding the implementation of GovPilot. So that is the software that's going to be replacing SDL over the next couple of months. So we're aiming to do a soft launch for all departments by the end of this month, but something that is exciting to announce is that the health department's dog and cat licensing is actually already started their soft launch with GovPilot. Just actually today is the first time it should be going live on the site. So for anybody who is using that over the next couple of days, I know that deadline for the year is already passed, but sometimes folks register later, they move and use it. We are still ironing out and perfecting that process, but it is up and running, and we are hoping to get the remaining departments out by the end of June, and then we'll have our formal grand launch of everything sometime in July, but we'll be slowly rolling that out over the next few weeks throughout the different departments. So as people log on to seek different services on our website, that is the new software that they will come across. In the meantime, SDL is still operating for all of the other services that it was previously, such as report a concern, or I know that some folks were using it also for different construction and zoning projects. So that is still under SDL, and that transition will be announced as that rolls out. The next major thing that's happening this week is that our capital funding became available for actual use for our IT capital items. And so I'll be ordering some hardware that was requested by the different departments over the coming days. So you'll likely see that on the next couple of bill lists, but it was mostly just planned computers, personal computers, laptops, things that we've been waiting to replace and have put off replacing, especially throughout the pandemic, as a means of being more financially prudent, that are now due, as well as making sure that our new employees have adequate supplies to perform their jobs. So that's an order that will be going out, or several orders that will be going out over the coming days. And all of those are in response to requests that were put in by different departments at the beginning of our budget process, and that'll be from the funds that were bonded for earlier. And then last but not least, the summer version of the Maplewood Leaflet is forthcoming. I have received everyone's submissions. I'm just making it look a little more visually appealing for folks reading it, so it's not just blocks of text. That'll be going out digitally and then also in hard copy. And that will contain information on all of our events for June, July, and August. My goal is for that to be out later this week, so keep an eye out for it for folks who are checking the website or are receiving the township emails. That'll be arriving sometime between the 10th and the 12th. And that's all I have for this week.
Thank you so much for that report. Are there any questions or comments, issues, concerns? Assistant Administrator Barnett? Seeing none, we're going to move over to Township Attorney Desiderio.
Mayor, I have one item this meeting. The lessees of the cell tower at the DPW would like to make some modifications, structural modifications, because of some structural issues. The modification is needed to reinforce the base plate that is reported as falling from the structure with regard to the T-Mobile equipment. This will reduce the stresses on the base plate to an acceptable level. The specs have been submitted to the township engineer. He's reviewed them, he's accepted them. It should probably about a week's worth of work, and it doesn't ultimately otherwise affect the structure. So I just want to get your consent to tell them that they can move forward with that.
Yes, for me.
I would move it.
I second it.
Ms. Adams?
Yes.
Ms. Cright?
Yes.
Mr. DeLuca?
Yes.
Mayor Daffis?
Yes. Is that it, Mr. Desiderio?
That is it, Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Township Clerk Fritzen.
Yes, Mayor, just a few things. Well, since we met last, I think we had a terrific Memorial Day program that we haven't had for several years due to COVID. A great parade. I'd never put a parade together before, but we did it. And a great ceremony. And with the help of, I have to say, Mr. DeLuca, assisting me with some pieces of the puzzle I needed for the ceremony, we were able to pull it off, and the weather couldn't have been better. So that was, I would say, a huge success. And everyone that participated enjoyed it. And we were able to honor our veterans, which was the purpose of the entire morning, right? So thank you all for your help. So, yesterday was Election Day, and I just thought about it, that it was a true 18-hour day. It started at 5 a.m. and it ended at 11 p.m. last night. So, it doesn't matter to township clerks whether 1,703 people vote or 4 people vote. We want everything to be perfect. So, and that was the numbers. It was very low voter turnout, but it doesn't matter because it needs to be perfect for the voters. We need to, troubleshoot any potential problems we see. any curveballs that were thrown as a department and the township. And, you know, we were thrown one. All of a sudden, at the very last minute, we were using Columbia High School gymnasium, which was certainly nothing that any of us had prepared for or knew about. But you know what, we rolled with it. We made it happen. And then over the weekend with remote school, we were able to go back to the cafeteria, which was like, yay, wonderful. So, but again, I want to tell you, using the OEM building, the township buildings, Columbia, all the walkthroughs we do, all the pre-planning, it all paid off yesterday. And we had relatively a few problems, but you know, I can't do this alone. And just the help of all the township departments. I think I ran DPW ragged over the last 2 weeks for sure. You know, we transformed the library into a polling location. It's just, you know, putting up solar boards, signs, everything that we could do to make it easier and more accessible for our voters in the township. All the department heads that have buildings that we use, phenomenal. Like I said, you can't do this alone. Police, fire, police helping greatly with a lot of the potential changes that we had. So, you know, I could go on and on and on about it, but Maplewood, I think, was extremely prepared for our 18-hour shift yesterday. Let me just say locally, we did have a race, and Ms. Engel received 1,280 votes, and Mr. Kiley received 235 votes. And then, yeah, that was it. So again, I also have to say my staff, my personal staff, as well as all the township employees that assist, I can't thank them enough, because you know what? They really make me look good. And that's it. But I have more to say. At the next meeting, have our ABC renewals for 22-23. And, you know, the time we always have for leverage for our licensees to renew. Like, you know, what's the noise complaints? What's the property maintenance issues? What haven't you paid? What liens are on the property? I mean, we cover them all. So I'll be getting a report to everybody, Township Committee, local ABC. But everybody except for one at the moment's in good shape, but I know we're going to get his attention. And that'll be 3 resolutions for the next meeting on June 21st. And we've had a bunch of Zoom planning meetings for larger scale events. Had one this morning, had 3 last week. You know, I coordinate them with the various department heads and organizers, and it really works. It troubleshoots a lot of potential problems. And finally, this is a piece of history here. We're going to have a person-to-person transfer. And again, I can say it because I think it's out there. And I saw Mr. Lee today here at Town Hall, but Casper's is transferring person to person. It's a packaged liquor store. Mr. DeLuca is laughing, shaking his head, yes. They've been in business for probably 45 years. And Mr. and Mrs. Lee have run it all that time. And probably in July, it'll be transferred person to person. It will stay in the same place. And that is all that I have for now. Mayor.
That's some news there, Ms. Fritzen. Thank you. And I want to thank you for your tremendous coordination for our primary election date yesterday.
Thank you.
It does take a lot. It's a massive operation to put together with a lot of changes last minute here and there from the county and the state. But you did it all seamlessly. And, you know, what we heard from voters, the voters who did come out and vote in the primary, their experience was a good one. There was some confusion, but that was not because of what we did here or didn't do here. It was because of some messaging that came out from the county about the changeover of our congressional district from 10 to 11. And that was unfortunate timing, but it was a great operation. I want to thank you, and I want to congratulate Ms. Engel, who is in attendance this evening, for her resounding victory. She really campaigned very hard. She canvassed door to door. She went to every community event. She put herself out there, and she's got to get through November. But we all, speaking for everyone else, I'm sure we all feel the same, that we look forward to serving with her. We think that she's going to be absolutely dynamic. Are there any questions or comments for Ms. Fritzen? I think Ms. Adams had her hand up first.
Yes, thank you. Ms. Fritzen, remind me what happened with the liquor license that we turned down, or is that something we can talk about, Mr. Desiderio? Like, what, are we putting that back out to bid, or what's?
That's on
It's a discussion item, Ms. Adams.
Discussion item.
It's a
Yep,
discussion item.
Jumping the gun. Sorry.
no worries. Mr. DeLuca.
Thank you, Mayor. Ms. Fritzen, congrats on the election. Just a footnote, the numbers that you read off, there still is a significant amount of people that vote by mail. So there were another 500 plus people who voted there. So when you add the two together, it really was a pretty good primary day in Maplewood for an off election. Two things that occurred over at the community center at DeHart. One is we have a resident who is legally blind who came in, and his wife came in and checked to make sure that they could accommodate him. And when he came in later, the board workers were excellent. They tried and worked, and he actually was able to vote. But they said to me that they received no training as board workers on how to work the accessibility functions of our voting machine. So if you could convey to the county that we had an incident where, our folks had to get on the phone and had to be walked through it. But a lot of them said that they got no training. So there should be training in that regard. The second thing is, and I want to make it public because I found it so offensive. We had a poll worker who was handing out her business cards and referring people to her business and her website. And I have it, and I will talk to you about it. And I want to report her to the County Board of Elections and do not want her in Maplewood anymore.
Sure. I'll talk to you offline.
Yep.
Any other comments or questions of Ms. Fritzen? Okay. Moving on to reports from elected officials. Committee member McGehee is not with us this evening. He is out of the country on business, not on pleasure. So he sends his regards. So that brings us to committee member Adams.
Yes, thank you. Liz, just thank you so much for all your work on both the Memorial Day Parade and the election. You're going to have to train a lot of people to take your place one of these days. Well, that's never happening. You're not going anywhere. Yeah. I just wanted to congratulate Deb Engel. As Mayor said, a hard worked campaign for her and her campaign volunteers. So congratulations on a well-deserved victory, and we look forward to serving with you. Wanted to just mention that an update for the public on Maplewood Stock. We are still unsure whether the bridge over by the duck pond will be open. We're making plans, and the committee is making plans as if it will not, because it's under construction, and there are DEP requirements and restrictions as to working over the waterway during the summer. So we're hoping that there's a slight possibility, and Mr. Kittner is checking on that, whether or not that can be open for Maplewood Stock. That said, the layout of Maplewood Stock will be a little broader throughout the park. The food vendors and such will be on Oakview. Food trucks will be on Oakview Avenue. And also some of the food vendors will be there as well. So basically, the amphitheater part of the park will still be the main stage, and and where you watch the concerts and the bands. And then on the other side of the duck pond, so people will be walking around to Oakview Avenue and around by the baseball fields and stuff. That's where there'll be the kid zone, the beer and wine garden, and any other, some of the vendors, the art vendors and things like that. So it'll spread people out a little bit, make it less congested in that part. Part of the reason was planning for, having this big event during what's still coming to an end of a pandemic, but also to respect areas of the park that the Maplewood Memorial Park Conservancy has worked really hard, and we've spent funds on, as they have, restoring certain areas with plantings and such. So all that combined, you'll see a different layout than we're used to all these years. But you should go to the Maplewood Stock website to get information about the rules for bringing pop-up tents. They, again, cannot be left up overnight, but all the rules and regulations on that are laid out very clearly on their website. So looking forward to that. That's July 9th and 10th, right? Yeah. All that information, I forgot the date. Okay. So that said, I wanted to just, it's been rather overwhelming today listening to testimony on gun violence. Get choked up immediately thinking about what's happened and the atrocities and the atrocity in Congress and the Republicans, frankly, of just blocking things that 90% of Americans, not 90% of left-wing liberals or Democrats, 90% of everybody wants common sense background checks, and to, oh my God, raise the age from 18 to 21 for somebody to buy a military style weapon. And when you heard what happened to these children and these poor people who were killed by that weapon in the hands of an 18-year-old, is just devastating to listen to. So if you're as upset as I am and you're available, which unfortunately I'm not, this weekend, the March for Our Lives has a big march in Washington, of course, and then all over the country. The closest ones to us are in Springfield at 8 a.m. on Saturday, March. What month is this? June 11th, and 10 a.m. in Newark at Military Park. So I know we have national representatives in the state of New Jersey who already might agree with the opinion I just shared, but I think it's really helpful for people to reach out to our representatives, but even representatives that aren't ours, because ultimately they make laws that affect us and kill us in some cases. So I'd urge people to reach out to Mitch McConnell and all the people who are hiding behind whatever gun lobby money they're getting and their, desire for power over the lives of our children. And so sorry to go on about that, but it's been kind of an upsetting day. So that's my report, Mayor.
Thank you, Ms. Adams, and thank you for your candor and your big heart. Thank you. So that takes us to Deputy Mayor DeLuca.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to go quick because we got 31 minutes left to this meeting. So I just want to, I'm happy to announce library bids are due this Thursday, the 16th at 2 p.m. So whatever you have to do, cross your fingers, say your prayers, that they come in within budget. So everybody just think good thoughts, 2 p.m. Thursday, June 16th. Tonight on the consent agenda, we have 18922, the resolution, and that is we're hiring a traffic firm for $37,000 to continue to do work on this study for the Tuscan Street, Burnett Avenue area, Boyden Avenue in Tuscan, and Seth Boyden School. So This is a commitment that we made to the community, and we're following through to work on that planning. The South Essex Fire Department, we're on track to begin on July 1st. I anticipate bringing one or more resolutions to the June 21st Township Committee meeting to tie up loose ends. I just want to let everyone know that we will continue the South Essex Fire Department under whatever configuration we ultimately come up with. Once July 1st comes, we will have both fire departments merged and we will be fighting fires in both towns. For Maplewood, we will continue to provide emergency medical services in our community. And that's through a contractual arrangement with the South Essex Fire Department. I'd like to ask that we agree to invite Rutgers students who are working on the South Train Tunnel on an artistic lighting design, and to give us a presentation. It will take about 20 minutes. So if we can do that on the 21st, then we'll set that up. And lastly, two things about the consent agenda. I'll just say it now quickly. I'm going to abstain on 195-22 because it has to do with the Lexington Avenue paving project. And I've made a decision to abstain on all those. And Mayor, you mentioned the resolution 182-22. That's that Senate bill 2103. I mean, I do understand, I will vote with you on this, but I do want to state for the record, and I know you're well aware of it, that a lot of these towns who refuse and have refused to honor their affordable housing obligations, this is an opportunity to use incentives to get them to modify and reuse some of these former office parks and shopping centers, which they were willing to let build in their community into some affordable housing mixed use. So I understand the sentiment here, but I hope it's not just we're opposed to it, but we think that there's some possibilities here, and maybe there's the right carrot and stick approach to trying to solve some of the affordable housing. So I will support you, but I do have some reservations about this whole movement against it, because I think it doesn't allow us to really think creatively about affordable housing. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor DeLuca. And I completely understand what you're saying with respect to the Senate bill. I think earlier language in the legislation reflected a more nuance in the manner that you just described. The current language does not. It's pretty automatic, and that's very troubling. So, but I appreciate your sentiments, and I thank you for sharing them. Committee Member Kripe.
Thank you, Mayor. I wanted to start off first by offering up something that kind of ties in with what Nancy was talking about. Government doesn't just happen. It requires all of us to be a part of it. And so many of the things that we complain about or really work on our nerves can be solved by people being involved in the process, joining the committees that have advisory capacity for this township, for this governing body, running for political office. It still breaks my heart, even though it was easy in a sense for me to be elected back in November, but it was because nobody ran against us. And for an outspoken governing community like Maplewood that has a whole lot of opinions, it's kind of disheartening. So if you want to see changes, if you want to see growth, if you want something to happen, get off your bottom and come make it happen, because it's not going to happen without you. Going into my report, I just wanted to report that YouthNet is up and running. We currently have 15 students who are interested in interning. And again, with that whole effort to getting the community involved, the summer internship program would be, it's a self-designed program. So for local businesses or local entrepreneurs who are interested in having a high school student follow you and shadow you and learn what it is that you do every single day as they are emerging out of being children and going into the career field eventually. We need additional locations. We have 15 students, but we don't have 15 sites yet. So please reach out. My email address is available at the website, or to reach out to YouthNet directly and volunteer, offer your services. You can give one day, you can give a few hours, you can take part of the summer. whatever you're willing to give, please offer to these students, because without you, they won't have that opportunity. A big shout out to Assistant Administrator Bailey Barnett, who went out of her way to help YouthNet get an administrator for the website. We need so much help and so much improvements. And she not only found someone who was willing to do it, but they're doing it pro bono. So it's not costing them anything. So thank you so much for that, Assistant Administrator Barnett. The pool had its first soft open over Labor Day weekend, and we had and the mayor can attest to it. We had lots of emails and a little bit of scrambling that went on, but it went off without a hitch. And for those people who are unsure about joining the pool, this weekend's pool opening also is available, and we're offering kind of a try as you buy opportunity for people, so that they can take whatever membership and guest passes they purchase and apply it to a pool membership if they purchased it on the following Monday. So if you're interested in joining the pool, come out this weekend, buy some guest passes, try it out. And if you like it, please join. We can definitely use you. One thing that I wanted to add to Committeewoman Adams' report regarding Maplewood stock is that the canopies aren't just being set up at sunrise. There's a canopy lottery. And if you go to the Maplewood stock website, there's a link that you'll fill out a Google form to apply for a position for either Saturday, Sunday, or both days in this lottery, so that there will not be the running of the middle-aged dads, I believe is what Mayor Daffis called it last week, or our last meeting. So yes, the canopy lottery is open. Finally, the Duran Hedden organization is having a Juneteenth celebration as well as the one we're having in the township, and theirs is a historical focus with not only historical reenactors, but musicians and quilters, face painting, food available for sale. It will be on the 19th, so the following day after our township celebration of Juneteenth, from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. at their location on Ridgewood Avenue. So please come on out to the Grand Hedden House and explore some of the history of slavery here in New Jersey and the idea of the freedom of African Americans that we've come to understand and appreciate with the second Independence Day on June 19th. And that is my report, Mr. Mayor. Back to you.
Thank you, Committee Member Kripe. Good report. So I'll go very quickly as well because TikTok, right? We ushered in Pride over the weekend. Although we did our proclamation this evening, we officially raised our flag here in Maplewood on Sunday, and I joined our colleagues over in South Orange at their flag raising later that day. Our flag raising was preceded by our annual SOMA Equality March and Rally. It was great. We heard from our youth who raised their voices, our trans and non-binary youth in particular. And all of that was followed by the youth picnic over the Hilton branch of the library by the gazebo. We asked people to come and support our Lavender graduates. We're doing that again. We're the only school district in New Jersey that does this. It's really a wonderful, wonderful way to affirm and give space to and support our Lavender graduates. That's on Friday this week, starting at 6 p.m. at CHS Auditorium. It's going to be followed for the first time ever by our Lavender Prom. Everyone is welcome, allies, parents, adults. It's not just our youth. And that starts at 7 at the Woodland. On Sunday, North Jersey Pride is back. Big. We're going to be celebrating our 10 years. This is something that started with just a couple of people. And I'm really excited how, while the event has grown and it's become a regional event with regional participation, it still has a local community focus. It has never become corporate. And we're going to have some great entertainment. So come on out to Memorial Park between 12 and 6 p.m. on Sunday. As Committee Member Kripe mentioned, Juneteenth, we are celebrating Juneteenth in the Township of Maplewood. We're hosting, it's a MAPSO Juneteenth celebration. We're hosting this year. South Orange did it last year. Memorial Park starting at 5 p.m. on Saturday, June 18th, going until 9 p.m. There will be performances, spoken word. Autumn Jones will be there. We're trying to get some other cool performances. and lots of food and fireworks at the end. So come on out and support. And as Ms. Kripe indicated, the following day on Sunday, on June 19th, the Celebration of Freedom that Duran has been conducting the past few years. I'm going to recruit Deputy Mayor DeLuca, and I invite anyone else who wants to help me put together a July 4th committee. There are several residents who are interested as well, and I've had some conversations with President Collum in South Orange about doing some joint activities during the day, in the morning, having a parade, and having a fulsome July 4th celebration, even though we're not doing the fireworks in the evening. We hope to bring that back next year. The first topic of discussion is going to be the reval that the county is forcing us to do yet again. It's no surprise considering how crazy our market has been, our house market, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. We've already talked about, worth talking about again, highlighting that we received a terrific Department of Transportation, the Safe Routes to Schools grant in the neighborhood of $488,000. And that is really well needed to improve the walkability of our students and their parents to and from Seth Boyden. And flood mitigation is the topic of the day. Everyone is talking about it. Every elected official, every state agency, certainly DEP is talking about it. They're about to issue new rules that will affect some of our projects that we have in the pipeline. And they're also going to be administrating a lot of money that's going to be passing through the federal government as part of the bipartisan infrastructure bill monies. And we will be meeting with DEP and the Governor's Office of Disaster Mitigation to talk about what grants we might be eligible for and how we get some of our projects funded. So that's really important work. March for Our Lives, Ms. Adams talked about that very powerfully. I want to talk about what I've been doing in that regard, as I mentioned earlier during the Gun Violence Awareness Proclamation and my personal statement. So I've had conversations with the county about a buyback program. As you all recall, there was an active one about a couple of years ago that was done, and there hasn't been done one since. It's a massive undertaking. It's a partnership with another municipality. We have to have the right space. I'm not sure if Maplewood has the right space. I'm not sure if we want people with guns coming through our town. But I'm talking to other mayors who want to collaborate with us and with nonprofits who have to provide the funding for this thing to happen. But the county is supporting the effort and they're willing to be our partner. In terms of gun safety, in terms of law enforcement agency readiness and preparedness to deal with mass casualty events, the county will be sending out directives to law enforcement agencies over the summer and providing resources and programming and training for free for law enforcement agencies who want to participate. I know that the Maplewood Police Department and the South Orange Police Department will be participating in that kind of training. It's a great opportunity, certainly with respect to our schools when students are out, for our officers to, certainly we have a lot of new officers who don't even know our schools on the inside. It's a great opportunity for them to get in there and to do some tactical training so that we can ensure that we're prepared for, God forbid, a tragic event. I'm going to go a little bit off script here. Surprise, surprise, right? I have to call this out. And this is not grandstanding. This is me doing my duty as an elected official, as a representative of the people of Maplewood, along with my colleague, Sheena Collum, who's given me the consent to mention her name during this. I have to say that Sheena Collum and I have reached out to our colleagues over on the school board to try and get information and to try to collaborate on school safety and readiness. And there is resistance. There is a lot of excuses being made. All that we ask in the least is that all of the school board members themselves have access to whatever information they should have access to, and it doesn't seem to be the case. And I want to make it very clear that I'm not going to stop. President Cullum is not going to stop knocking on the door. We really owe it to our residents, our students, our families, that we are doing everything that we can to keep our schools safe. We know that we've had breaches in our schools recently, and certainly at the high school in particular. And whatever plans are in place, we would like to know about them. We don't need to, certainly inform the public in great detail about every little detail, because that makes us unsafe, right? We recognize that. Certainly we recognize that, but we really want to collaborate, and we want to have an open door policy to discuss and to prepare together. That is our duty as elected officials. Having a town hall about safety is not leadership. It's not leadership. We can certainly bring the public in to talk about certain things, but having a town hall where 25 people are going to govern the narrative and all the decisions for 25, almost 26,000 people in Maplewood and another 19,000 people in South Orange is not elected representative leadership. It's not. And certainly, just to make it very clear, we're not talking about over-policing. We're not talking about lockdowns. We're not talking about, some of the stuff that the 25 people are going to accuse us of wanting to do. We're talking about, as Ms. Adams eloquently stated earlier, common sense safety. Common sense safety. And I think we can reach a reasonable approach that most people can get behind, but we have to talk and collaborate to get there. And we got to do it soon. Summer's here. So that's something I wanted to say. And last, I'm going to ask for support. My last topic is pool pals. I want to give a major shout out to Melissa Rennie, who is one of our pool advisory committee members. Melissa took it on herself to go out there and fundraise for pool pals. And she took us from about $4,000 and change to about $9,000 right now in our pool pals account. That's exceptional and tremendous. However, even with the $9,000, we might have a little bit of a shortfall, I think, in terms of being able to meet all of the needs of the households who are going to need the assistance. I think we have 33 applications right now that social services is reviewing and processing. But there might be a small shortfall, and I'm going to be asking you all for your support to have the township cover whatever shortfall there is. There may not be one at all. I don't have that number. I wish I did. Committee member Cripe, do you by any chance have a number? I don't think you do either.
No, we're waiting a process from Melissa's team.
Right, but if there is, it's going to be a small amount, and certainly with everything that we talk about, equity and justice and all of this, we shouldn't shut out a household because of this. So if we can do it, I ask for your support. Is there support from my colleagues?
Second, your motion.
Okay. Moved
And
and seconded.
Mr. Mayor, can I?
Yep, please.
May I be able to say something also? A thread conversation that was been held on Facebook is making it seem like pool memberships are luxuries. In these excessively hot summers that we've had for the last few years, having access to a way to cool yourself and your children is not a luxury. And I just wanted to say that out loud. Pool membership is not a luxury, particularly for families who can't afford to pay for it out of pocket. it's something maybe.
Great. And thank you for your support. Do we need a roll call?
Yeah, Mayor, I'm going to take a vote. Ms. Adams,
Yes.
Ms. Crate,
Absolutely.
Mr. DeLuca,
Yes.
Mayor Daffis.
Yes. Thank you all for your support. I appreciate it. We're doing the right thing. Okay. Discussion items. Township Attorney Desideri, you have the first one.
I do, Mayor, you touched on it. As I believe everybody knows, the Essex County Board of Taxation forwarded a letter on May 23rd indicating that an order to reval has been entered. That reval will go into effect as of January 1, 2024, which means the reval has to be completed in a calendar year 2023, actually has to be completed by October 1st of 2023. I believe this is going to be my fourth or fifth, Mr. Luca, my fourth, okay. And I will tell you that the sooner we get started, the better. South Orange, Maplewood and South Orange have been directed to move forward together in light of the school district. Makes sense. I believe that our assessor and the South Orange assessor are working on specs. So I would ask that you authorize the township to go out for receipt of proposals for the reval.
Yeah, Mr. Deputy Mayor DeLuca and Committee Member Adams.
Yeah. These are always very sensitive, and I support moving ahead sooner rather than later because we always get jammed up at the end. I am glad to see that our tax assessor and the tax assessor in South Orange are moving forward. But before we agree to go out to bid, I think we ought to have a meeting to take a look at these and really think through what we're asking, because one of the things that I've learned, and as you know, we went through these together. This is our fourth. Public communication is absolutely key, and you have to build that into the specs. And I understand our tax assessors are skilled at the assessing part, but we are very sensitive to how the community reacts to things. So there needs to be some interim conversation, which includes some of us and the two assessors, before we get to a finalizing the specs.
And that's fine. I would say, I think our last one was either 4 or 5 years ago. So we have the template from the last one. So I guess to the extent that there was feedback or complaints with regard to it, I know that there was a lot of stuff that was done online at the last one, but we can certainly set that up.
And I think part of that communication is because I don't really, excuse me, understand why we are always directed to do so many when other communities in New Jersey never have to do a revow. And I understand it's county directed and so on and so forth. But I personally disagree with the need for it right now, because the housing prices are so out of line with norm, and they're most certainly gonna self-correct at some point. And then are we gonna, and we always, I don't know, what is it, like $500,000 or something, wasn't it?
It'll be at least 500,000.
Yeah, I mean, it's just an insane amount of money to do every few years when there are communities in this state that haven't done a revow ever. And
I don't know that that's true now, Ms. Adams. The state is caught up. Union County's caught up. Springfield, who hadn't done one in 25 years, has done one.
I don't think
catching up.
There's many towns in Union County that haven't done it. My point, though, is we have literally no say in this.
That is true. That's absolutely correct.
And that just feels wrong, doesn't it feel wrong? It's taxpayer dollars, and we're just directed.
Okay, so number one, you have a very aggressive county tax administrator in Essex County.
I know.
Okay? She is very aggressive, and she wants this done correctly. Number two, there is a constitutional requirement to do these, because it requires that all properties be assessed on an equalized basis. And the perception is that an equalization ratio, when it gets too far out of whack, cannot be the correct way to establish them. You have the right to appeal. You have 45 days to appeal the order. And if you direct me to file an appeal, I'll file an appeal.
What does that entail?
That entails going back to the state and making our pitch. But our pitch is only going to be that we're going to go, we may get a year, you may get not. I mean, the assessor made a pitch to put this off until 2025, and he was turned down.
Yes.
He was told there were other towns in the county that were going to do it in 2025, and based on when we had last done it, we would have to go for 2024.
Look, I'm not necessarily against the purpose of a revow, but given our tax burden and the just insane property taxes we pay to have to do this every few years, it just feels really, really wrong. And unfair.
I'm not arguing with you on the concept.
I know.
It hasn't been. In fairness, it's not 2 years.
No, I said every few years. It's been.
Few. I'm sorry, I misunderstood you. Okay.
Well,
But
I think we're doing a disservice to the public a little bit too. None of us want to do this, but we don't have much recourse. But if we're going to effectively communicate to the public about what this means and what it doesn't mean, we're kind of failing in that regard right now, because it doesn't necessarily mean that taxes are going to go up for everyone. So I'm going to jump in here. Mr. Desiderio talked about, the requirements and how we have to move forward, put a plan in place. We have to do a communications package. The work begins. Hopefully we can go out to bid before the end of the year. We're going to do this jointly with South Orange.
Mayor, respectfully, you have to go out before the beginning of the year. You will never get it done. You will never get it done by October 1st. The deadline for doing it has to be, I would say the latest you could go out is October. The latest.
Right. I said before the end of this year. Right.
No, I understand, but I just want to put the time frame in sequence.
Right. The reason for the reval is a quickly sinking ratio and a rising coefficient of deviation. I think a lot of people saw this coming, even though we just went through this like 4 or 5 years ago. And what the reevaluation does is it resets things. It resets the playing field, equitably distributing the tax burden. We're, undervalued as a whole, certainly with respect to the county, and this will bring us at 100% valuation, which could be beneficial. Certainly, the reevaluation does not increase the amount of revenue a municipality receives. That's a common misconception. We're not doing this, and the county's not doing this so that we can make more revenue from it. And for a lot of people, their tax rate will go down because they're overpaying. For a lot of people, it will stay probably around the same, and for some, it may go up. But it is not. I think we have to be really careful how we communicate this. In terms of an appeal, I can tell you that the hearing that was held on this, we were very aptly represented by our tax assessor, who has vast experience in revaluations before he came to our township as a tax assessor, and he's very known and very respected by the tax administrator, the county tax administrator, and he fought hard against our doing this at this moment in time and giving us a little bit more time, and the answer was no. I think filing an appeal, which is within our rights, and delaying this is only going to make it worse, frankly. So
yeah, I'm not necessarily for an appeal, because I know it's going to fail, and I don't think I'm voicing only my own frustration here. I know I speak for a lot of people, because this is something, and the communication, it doesn't necessarily raise your property tax. It evens everything out, yada, yada, yada. I mean, Mr. DeLuca lost an election in large part because of a revow. So this is something that's just so frustrating because it just feels so frequent. Just in the time I've lived here, I've lived through all these revals, and you know, it just feels like really burdensome. And I don't know. So I'm actually getting texts from people saying, why can't we appeal it? And I'm like, we're having the conversation. So, yeah, it's frustrating to say the least.
Well, Mr. Desiderio, what are the effects of the appeal?
Well, I don't think it'd be held against you if you appeal, but I have to say, because I think it has to be said that in speaking with the assessor, he tells me that the assessor in South Orange does not want an appeal. She's in favor of the reassessment. So that is going to work against us in terms of doing them at the same time. The fact that she's willing and seems to accept that, okay, it's not going to be a good factor for us. And
Well,
unfortunately, and I don't know what her equalization ratio is, but if you look at the order, the ratio of assessed value to true value is 84.11%, and there's a wide divergence in ratios, 50.85 to 125.59. So there's empirical data, okay, to support the order. We cannot go to them and say, but you didn't make town so-and-so do it. That's not going to carry the day.
No, I know. It's just, again, I'm just voicing my frustration with having to.
Let me say this.
This.
My recommendation would be that you not waste the money on the appeal, because all you're going to lose is time, and they're still going to order you to do it for 2023 or January of 2024. That's my opinion.
And that's the opinion of our assessor as well. And they want to move jointly with South Orange to do this well and to do it in a coordinated fashion and to save us some money instead of going it alone. I think the last time we did this, we did it together with South Orange. Is that right, Mr. DeLuca?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
And so do we need a motion or something?
Well, right now, I just want you to give me the okay to get them going. Mr. DeLuca's suggestion, I think, is one that it should be entertained. And that is that as they put the specs together, that there be a committee to review those to make sure that they're covering all the aspects that you want in terms of communication, graphics, all the stuff that would make the process more palatable to people. Nobody's going to like it.
All right, we don't like it.
Just for the record, the last full revaluation was in 2011. So we're now over 10 years. And, you're supposed to do it every 10 years. We had a reassessment in 2017. So that's 5 years. And by the time it gets implemented, we're talking 6 years. So I think it's time.
Yeah. Okay, so do you have what you need, Mr. Desiderio, to move forward?
Well, I think I have 2 yes votes, a maybe, and I haven't heard from Ms. Kripe.
Yes, let's just get it done.
Okay. All right, I'll tell the assessor to move forward.
Mayor, I move we go beyond our 9:30 stop.
Which we have already. I second it.
I'm in favor.
We just
What
talked
happens,
about this committee.
what happens if you don't get 4 votes, Mr. Mayor?
You have to end.
I don't want to just keep
DeLuca?
going.
Okay.
Yes.
Mayor Dafis.
Yes.
Oh, it failed.
Yes. Again, we haven't done it once yet. We just talk too much on this committee. Okay. The second item is mine. What I mean by this, the Township Anti-Discrimination, Equity, Inclusion Policies, Employee Sensitivity Training. So I'd like to do what other municipalities have done to strengthen their commitment to inclusivity and equity, and to send a strong message with respect to their anti-discrimination policies. There are municipalities that have a packet that's readily available of their policies on their website, and it has various components. It says that this is our employee handbook. We have one of those too. These are the sensitivity trainings that we do quarterly or annually or whatever that we do. And these are the policies that we have with vendors. Certainly, we know that we can't control everything, right? We can control everything in Maplewood for the most part anyway, but we can't control sometimes the vendors that we work with who may not be as inclusive or welcoming. And we want to have policies with our vendors that they're going to adhere to what we want to do, to what we represent. I'm not talking about set-asides or anything like that. I'm just talking about having these written in an ordinance, a human rights ordinance that codifies this and makes it very, very clear. Certainly, we've had employees who've created some situations through implicit bias, and we've had to backtrack and do trainings. I think there's some room for improvement, and I'd like to challenge here our administration, township administration, with putting this together and coming back to us with a proposal to adopt. Does it make sense? Mr. Jimes, did you have anything you want to add?
We will do that. Just in furtherance of this discussion a while back, I had started reaching out to different companies that can help provide some training, and the JIF has agreed to provide some of that LGBTQI training and pay for it. So that's one step in that direction.
Great.
But there's more.
Yep, definitely. Certainly our relationships with vendors, I think, is really important. That piece is often missing. The last discussion item is about the liquor license. Committee member Adams alluded to this earlier. What are we doing with that? What happened to it? We can move forward with it. Mr. Desiderio, did you want to add anything here before I move that?
And Ms. Fritzen can take a look, see, but I think the hearing was on May 3rd. I think that was the hearing date. There's a 30-day appeal period. No appeal has been filed. I reached out to Mr. Williams, who was counsel for the applicant who was turned down. He told me that he had not been retained to file an appeal, and he was at least he had not been told there was going to be an appeal. I don't want to misquote him. So he didn't think there would be an appeal, at least not from his end. So that being said, I think there is no impediment for you to move forward if you so choose.
Are we going to put it out to bid at the same lowest bid, starting bid number?
That's for us to decide. That's for us to decide.
What was that? That was 450?
420.
420.
420.
Right.
420.
And will we use the same parameters?
Well, we'll tighten up that language. We need to tighten up that language on the restaurant and the theater. I think we should need to put a time frame in there, because we were a little ambiguous on that. So I don't know if we want to say within a year. I leave that to your decision as to what you want to do with that. But I think we should tighten that up, is what I'm suggesting.
So, Mr. Desiderio, you're saying 12 months after the issuance of an award or a license?
So I think you know what? I think this one got dragged out, and because the first applicant just dragged it out purposely. Okay, and that's not Mr. Lafredo's group. That was the applicants before them. I don't believe they ever really had the money to move forward. So I would say maybe 15 months within the award of the bid. Maybe that's a fair
compromise. They have to put it in use?
It has to be in use within that period of time.
Oh, okay.
Again, that's a suggestion. You have to decide.
So what recourse do we have if it isn't?
Well, liquor license is easy. We suspend a license and it can't be used anywhere. We can start an action to reclaim it.
And do we have to pay back the money?
Well, now you're getting into my remedies course in law school. And I think we would have to take a position, no, we weren't going to give the money back at that point.
Shouldn't we put that in the bid?
We shall.
Can we also put in that we have to get the money by a certain date? Because that was part of the problem with this last one.
We can.
I think we should, because that was part of the reason we were.
Part of the problem, and we do run into this occasionally, is sometimes it takes 6-8 weeks, Ms. Fritzen, to get all the information back from fingerprints and all of that stuff. Am I wrong about that?
You're not wrong, Mr. Desiderio, up to 3 months even.
Why don't we do 3 months to have the money
Well,
in?
I think what we can do is that, yeah, that's fine. We can, they have to have, we'll frame some language that says it has to be, that the application has to be submitted, okay, within a certain period of the time of the award, okay, and then that'll at least force them to submit the application with a complete application with all the fingerprints, cards, et cetera, and then move forward from there, so.
I think it makes sense to put a strict timeline on that so that we're not lingering without anything going into effect while other people, like the last one, like people who might have wanted it were prohibited from getting it. And then a year later, here we are.
Yes.
And Mayor, you asked about the uses. Are you thinking of the same use, which would be an eat-in restaurant and a movie theater?
Well, I think it should be or, not necessarily.
Right, or. You would keep the movie theater in there?
I don't think so, but whatever.
Well, I mean, eat-in restaurant, okay.
What were
I guess-
you
I
gonna
mean,
say?
we don't define eat-in restaurant, but my sense is that even if it was the movie theater, it would be with an eat-in restaurant, right?
Well, the definition usually comes to whether or not we want somebody with a liquor license like this for consumption needs to serve some food at their place. So we didn't just want like a dive bar, I guess, with no food. Is what, right?
271 has a definition of an eat-in restaurant.
Yeah. So I'm fine with that. I don't care about the movie theater part.
What about a wine bar? What if someone wanted to open a wine bar? There was talk at one time of someone doing that.
There sure was.
Usually wine bars have
They have food though.
some food. They
Well,
usually,
Yeah.
Is
Well,
that
they
an
usually
eat-in
have-
restaurant?
I don't know, we gotta look at 271.
Because,
look, do we need to define it as eat-in restaurant, or can it just be a bar with some food? Do we have that definition? Do we need to define it so succinctly as?
Well, we have to look at 271, and I don't think we're looking at 271 now.
I'll tell you what, why don't we, Ms. Fritzen, you've made all these notes, right?
She's just gonna go listen to the tape.
Okay, well, that's fine. But what
Yeah.
we'll do is we'll put something together. We'll get it to you and then you can take a look at it at the next meeting. Is that satisfactory?
Yep.
Certainly.
Does the committee want me to just send out our last one so you can take a look at it?
Well, what we'll do is we'll do a red line word version of it and we'll put the changes in, Ms. Fritzen. So they'll see it.
You and I.
Yes.
You and your staff, but yes.
Oh, that'd be you and I.
Okay, got it.
Okay, so we're good with that approach, and then we'll
Yep.
take another look at it at the next TC meeting on the 21st.
Yep.
Okay, great. Consent agenda, I move that we adopt in the consent agenda resolutions A through N and P through V.
A through N and P through V, is that correct?
Yes. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Mr. Adams,
Yes.
Ms. Cripe,
Yes.
Mr. DeLuca,
Yes,
Mayor Dafis.
Yes. I move that we adopt resolution number 195-22, item number O in our current consent agenda.
Second.
Mr. Adams,
Yes.
Ms. Cripe,
Yes.
Mr. DeLuca,
Stain.
Mayor Dafis.
Yes, thank you. And I move the approval of the closed session minutes from our May 17th meeting.
Second.
Adams,
Were you there? Oh, yes, you were there.
Which meeting?
May 17th.
I wasn't there. I
I'll
watched.
second it. I'll second it.
okay, Ms. Adams,
Abstain.
Ms. Cripe,
Yes.
Mr. DeLuca,
Yes.
Mayor Dafis.
Yes. Public comment, second period, any subject matter, 3 minutes each. Mr. Waltz, take over.
Good evening again, Mayor and Township Committee. We'll now begin the second public comment portion of our meeting on any matter. If anybody would like to address the Township Committee, please use the raise your hand function. We will convert you to a panelist and allow you 3 minutes to speak. Would anybody like to address the Township Committee at this time?
Well, somebody brought Deb Engel over.
I see no
She
hands
doesn't
raised.
have, she doesn't have her hand up.
I know, why she hadn't, okay.
Eager
I see no public comment, Mayor.
Might have done that accidentally clicking on that side of my screen.
Oh,
It happens.
not till January 1.
Yeah, she's eager beaver.
Move we adjourn.
I
Second,
Second.
Good night, everybody.
good night.
All in favor? I'm in favor.